I'll start right here. I'm Lyle Waters, Polk County Commissioner, Chair.
Ray Jackson, SKATS staff.
Kim Sapinar, SKATS staff.
Mike Jaffe, Transportation Planning Director for SKATS.
Steve Dobrinich, I'm a SKATS planner.
Desiree Collins, admin staff.
Megan Green, Northeast Keizer Neighborhood Association.
Jamie Kunz, Keizer Community Diversity Engagement Committee, and Greater Northeast Keizer Neighborhood Association.
Kyle Tran, Keizer City Councilor.
Mel Fuller, Salem-Keizer School Board.
My Bang, Salem-Keizer.
Salem City Councilor.
Julie Hanson, City of Salem Transportation Planning.
And Desiree, would you get those online for me?
Mayor Schaffler.
Mike Schaffler, and yell really loud because I can barely hear you.
Anna.
Anna Henson, ODOT.
Brandon.
Brandon Williams, ODOT.
Sadie. Can't hear you. Sorry. He's driving, so let's. Nick.
Oh, hi, Nick Forty with the West Salem Neighborhood Association.
Thank you.
Everybody, thanks for being here today. Next up is approval of minutes from November 25th, 2025. Are there any comments or link for approval? Their motion?
I motion to approve.
Motion by Kyle. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Anna. So, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any nays? Motion passed unanimous. Next up is public comment. Does anybody like to address us in public comment today? Hearing none?
I want to recognize we did get a public comment from the Greater Northeast Keizer Neighborhood Association.
And I asked that just you took a bite, didn't I?
We're just passing it around, and I think Kim sent it out electronically this morning. It's regarding the bridge, right? The bridge update or safety upgrade, seismic upgrade, excuse me. So
Steve was going to mention that in his presentation as well.
Okay. Is it you want to say anything about it now?
Anna has her hand up.
Anna?
Thank you. Just having a really hard time hearing folks in the room. So maybe if you could just speak up a little bit, like can probably hear every fourth word or something. I'm not sure what's going on my end. My volume's all the way up. So just a heads up, you might have to yell. I don't know if it looks like you got a new system.
Yeah. Can you hear us well when I'm really projecting? Okay, we'll use that voice when we're for presentations.
Thank you.
I thought it was just me.
Hey, Lyle, can you hear me?
with the bumble, and eating.
Oh, were you talking, Commissioner Cameron?
Kevin, can repeat that?
I'm gonna try to listen in, so if you need me, send me a text message.
Okay.
It's up there.
All right. Next up is adopt amendments increasing funding for the Center Street Bridge Seismic Retrofit Project. So Steve.
Okay, I'm gonna share my screen, and there is information in the meeting packet, agenda topic E. And there's a memo in there that SKATS staff wrote. It's about a 3-page memo summarizing everything at a high level. There's an additional memo attached, which is was written by ODOT staff and was a part of the packet that went to the Oregon Transportation Commission. They reviewed and approved these amendments at their November meeting. And part of that also includes some of the more detailed financial planning that ODOT put together in the fall of this year, which backs up some of the numbers that we're going to look at today as part of the amendment, or the two amendments. So the purpose of this agenda topic is to update first project 21705, which is phase one of the Center Street Bridge retrofit project. And the amendment there is adding about $98 million to the construction phase and $2 million to the other phase. And it also makes some adjustments to the project name and description to suit the work more specifically as it's laid out in the TIP and the STIP now. This amendment is going to allow phase one of the project to move forward, and I have a later slide that'll talk about what that means. And the goal right now is for ODOT to begin construction in, I think, like February, March on phase one. The second amendment relates to phase two of the retrofit project for the bridge, and it's adding $2 million for this new project key number, which is to complete an investigation to start evaluating the work on the west approach. There's no construction funding identified for that yet, or at least specifically programmed. There's construction funding that's in the works, but it's not ready to go into the STIP yet because it's slated to, some of that work will be like in the 2030, 2035 timeline. So just a really high level basic background, the Center Street Bridge carries the eastbound traffic for Highway 22 and is one of two bridges that crosses the Willamette, or one of two highway bridges at least that crosses the Willamette in Salem. Both bridges, the Marion Street Bridge and the Center Street Bridge, are seismically vulnerable. And the work is being done on the Center Street Bridge specifically because it's eligible for a retrofit, because the mean span of the bridge was updated in 1985. The Marion Street Bridge isn't suitable for retrofit, and so that's not being addressed at this time. House Bill 2017 set aside funding for the Center Street Bridge retrofit. Since that time, the project has, well, I should say it was $60 million initially that was set aside for the project. That was later increased to $100 million, and that's what currently is programmed for the phase one of the project. Since that time, about 8 years ago, and the project development process since then, the project has seen design and construction cost escalations. There's a little bit more about that in the memo, but a number of factors, which is what the cost increases, which is why this increase is being added to the TIP and the STIP today. A new funding plan was put together by ODOT for the phase one construction in the fall of this year. And so that was the point where the project was split into two phases, and the purpose moving forward is to fund phase one of the project. So here's phase one is the kind of lighter blue-green color here that's highlighted. It includes the retrofit of the river span across the Willamette River, two of the eastern ramps, and then it also completes an emergency response plan for what would happen in the event of a disaster. I think that's like prior to construction completion, right? Could be wrong about that. Anyway, the phase one estimate for total project cost is between $130 and $200 million, and that's in 2028 dollars, which is kind of roughly, I think, where ODOT estimated more of the construction spending will take place. Phase 2 replaces the west end ramps upon again funding availability. Currently, there's not funding available for or identified for phase 2 of the project, but the cost identified was 185 to 270 million in 2035 dollars for phase 2. And this is for a total replacement of those west approach ramps over here in blue, as opposed to a retrofit, because that phase of the project wasn't going to be able to be retrofit.
I was just saying Anna has her hand raised. I don't know if she wants to say something right now or wait.
While you're on this slide, or before you go to the next slide, I would like to provide a little bit of clarification if possible.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. And I just want to, you made a point about the emergency response plan. That would be, we would instill that. Let's say we have, after our retrofit project is done on this center span and the east ramps, that emergency plan, so let's say a Cascadia subduction event happens before we have phase 2 completed. That's what that emergency plan is for, is to connect the west side of Salem to the retrofit piece of the bridge. Does that make sense?
Yes, it
Okay.
does. Yeah. So between the two phases is what you're saying?
Yeah, that's a simpler way. I don't know why I didn't think about that. But yes, that's accurate.
Thanks, Anna.
Okay, so this slide just gives an overview of the amendment itself. So as I mentioned at the beginning, the Oregon Transportation Commission reviewed this at their November meeting, actually at their October and November meetings, and approved amending the statewide transportation improvement program. So they've effectively approved new funding for this project to go into the SIP, and our action is to make approval for our Metropolitan Transportation Improvement Program so that the project listing is consistent between the two documents. Again, the update was to add $97,842,600 for the construction phase of phase 1, and then $2 million for the other phase of phase 1, and then an additional $2 million for the beginnings of phase 2 investigation. So total funding is about $101 million, I think that adds up to, or close to $102 million between the two project phases. ODOT, their plan is to issue bonds that will be repaid by their bridge and seismic program over a course of a number of years. I don't exactly know how many years, but essentially ODOT is using a Garvey bond that they'll issue to be able to move construction forward and then pay back through their bridge program over time. As far as SKATS role and public comment, we held a public comment period for the amendments. That was a 2-week period. We did get one letter from the Greater Northeast Keizer Neighborhood Association. I think it generally expressed support for the project. There, namely, was citing access to medical appointments, shopping, access to work, jobs, employment centers using that bridge, and the importance of this connection. I did look back at some of the comments from the previous when we did our long-range plan amendment in the spring, and those comments were generally the comments we did get were generally like questions or concerns about the construction, the disruptions during construction is what I'm trying to say.
Impacts.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah.
So just a little more background before we wrap this up. Recent SKATS actions related to this topic. So we worked with ODOT on planning and public outreach for the past year on this project, really. So back in February and April of 2025, we amended the long-range metropolitan transportation plan. So we had a presentation with Dowell Engineering and Anna and SKATS staff who discussed the MTP amendment at that time. And then we had a public hearing. They opened the amendment up for a 30-day public comment period. And then we had a public hearing at the April meeting, which was approved by the policy committee at that time. So more recently, SKATS assisted with additional documentation for the financial constraint aspects of this project as it's listed in the MTP.
I see Mike's got his hand up. Mayor?
Oh, sorry.
Oh.
Cursor again.
Closer. Okay.
Trying to keep him quiet.
This is a weird one. It's white.
Okay, so this is just the summary of the amendment in a little more detail. So again, this is captured in the meeting packet, but summarizes some of the changes to the phase one. The increase in funding is captured down at the bottom, and it notes that no funding impact to our SKATS discretionary dollars. ODOT is going to be issuing bonds, as I mentioned, which will be repaid by the Bridge and Seismic program. An updated project description that's just a little more detailed about what is included in phase one. The previous description was a little bit more general and came from an earlier iteration of the project. And then Amendment 25-24 is a new project, as mentioned, for phase two of the project. And this is to complete an investigation evaluating the west approach replacement for future phase two construction project. And this is $2 million for that phase of the project. So that's all I have. And yeah, if there's any other questions or comments, happy to take those now.
Comments for questions for Steve or Mike? We've got both of them sitting right here, just eager to answer them. They've got all the answers. Anna's smiling at that one.
Because you know we don't have all the answers.
2 times I'm just too.
Mr. Chair, if there is no questions, I'd make a motion.
Yeah.
Wait,
I have a question.
Getting very far. We were on the time.
Oh, wait.
It was.
At least
Okay.
it was dry.
I was trying to get off mute. I'm trying to get you off my phone because I can hear you in 2 places. I do have just a quick question about the emergency vehicle, emergency response planning. And I guess this is for ODOT, and that was related to, will paratransit buses be included in that like route availability, the services that deliver people to medical appointments when they can't take the bus? I'm assuming you want me to answer that.
Yes, please.
See, so I wonder, I might need some clarification on your question, because if you're talking about, there's difference between what we're going to accommodate during construction and this emergency response plan. So if you're talking about how we accommodate the paratransit buses during construction, that's a different question. So are you talking about just the emergency plan, like what's going to happen between phase 1 and phase 2 if we get a Cascadia subduction event? Okay.
I'm talking
Maybe
about
this is a good
during
question.
construction.
During construction?
So during construction, will the emergency response routes be available to paratransit services?
I think that's an excellent question. I don't know the answer to it. What we're going to be doing on the full closure weekend is we're going to be accommodating emergency vehicles on one of the lanes on Marion Street Bridge when Center Street Bridge is completely closed. So that's about 4 different occurrences through the life of the project. At this time, I'm pretty sure we're not accommodating any transit through there. That's just going to be solely for EMS. Does that answer your question?
I don't know that I'm happy with the answer.
Understood.
I would like people to get to their, dialysis and their medical appointments on time.
Well, let me provide a little bit of clarification. Those are night closures. Middle of the night, 11 p.m. to 5 a.m.
Okay.
So I don't know if that helps a little bit alleviate.
It does. That alleviates the majority of my concerns, quite honestly. I had forgotten about the timing of that.
Okay. Yeah, we're not allowed to shut stuff down during the day.
Yeah.
Unless there's some sort of emergency, but yeah, we won't be doing that.
And maybe just one kind of related question. I imagine that we anticipate delays in our traffic, in our cars, because there's a lot of people that are driving cars. And you can kind of accommodate for that in your car. You can say, I'm going to leave early. But you can't accommodate for that in a bus. You can't have a bus leave the 2 stops prior 20 minutes early to anticipate a slowdown at the bridge. Is there any kind of prioritization that we can give buses to help them stay on schedule through the construction phases that might cause delays for regular cars?
Yeah. I know we met with Chariots to go over some transportation options, but this particular question that you have, I don't have an answer to. So let me chase that out if it's okay with you, and I can either get back to the everyone, or Sadie, I can just send you an email specifically up to the group here how you want a response on that.
I have a quick question.
Yes.
Thank you. And what are the times of the night closures again? If you would.
Well,
please.
right now we're proposing 11 p.m. to 5 a.m. Now, this is all this just so everybody understands. This is what ODOT is proposing to the contractor as part, because we have to show the contractor that this project's buildable. They could change that, right? And likely we're going to offer incentives for them to shorten those closure times. We're going to be working pretty hard with them on that. So it's just tentative right now, just so you know. But that's the plan. That's what we've written up. Again, they could change it. I will tell you that we will be blasting this out all over. You'll probably get so sick of hearing about it. It'll become this noise.
My reason for asking is I was just concerned about school buses, but it sounds like in those hours it wouldn't be affected.
Yeah, and we did meet with the school district.
Okay.
To talk about that, and I wasn't at that meeting, so I'm not sure how that went out. But yeah, it shouldn't impact them. Again, though, the lane closures, 2 lane closures on the bridge would probably impact the school district, but busing. But they're aware of that. I'm not sure what we're doing for a remedy on that.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So everybody's aware, this is gonna impact all of us. And Sadie, I understand your question on your buses, but traffic's gonna be backed up in the streets so far. I don't know how your bus can drive around all the traffic. I think it's gonna be times where we're gonna have to send notices out that our buses and school buses will be running in different timeframes and be patient. I don't know how we're gonna get around all of these.
There's ways to do signal prioritization and to
Yeah.
give buses like exclusive use of a lane that would ameliorate those concerns for buses and school buses and paratransit vehicles if we wanted to.
If the roads accommodate that, but when you only have a 2-lane road, it's kind of hard to give a lane to a bus. So it's just gonna be some major challenges we're all going to feel. And so the West Salem residents, be very patient getting through this. So I've been doing a lot of talking, just getting people prepared that we're gonna have to leave home earlier. And we're gonna have to give us more time to get to work. It's not gonna be, there's gonna be certain time frames that is just going to be very taxing on our patients. So, try to share that with people now so we can all get ready for when that time comes. Yes, Mike.
So this is a question for Anna. Do you have anything out now for the public to look at about the potential closures, times, days, or is that internal right now?
Yeah, that's a good question. So when we presented to the city of Salem last Monday, so not yesterday, but the last week, we have a PowerPoint presentation. I don't know if that's been uploaded to our website yet. I will throw a link to our website in the chat. That would be the best place that's going to show up. I just don't know the timing on that.
Okay. Well, we as SKATS as a cog, we want to be an ally in helping you get the information out. And we have channels that we could use to do that. So let's talk about doing that going forward for multiple reasons. One, to get that information out, but also to us not knowing that we have the correct information and not spreading misinformation. So.
Okay, that sounds great. Thank you. And I want to make something clear that I meant to say earlier. We don't expect these traffic, not that this minimizes people's concerns, but we don't expect the traffic impacts to really happen until 2027. So the first season, we're not going to see it so much. The contractor will be putting the work bridge up in the river, working in the river. But we might see occasional like 20-minute delays where they're up on the bridge trying to move equipment around. But overall, the main traffic impacts are going to be in 2027.
Any other questions, comments? So Commissioner Cameron, I just want to clarify.
That is so wrong.
I want to clarify your motion.
Everybody's got about 6 gifts.
I haven't made it. How can you clarify it?
Go for it.
This can't stop. No.
Okay. Mr. Chair, I'm going to make a motion that we adopt resolution 25-23 and 25-24, amending the SKATS fiscal year 24-29 MTIP.
Have a second.
One second.
Kyle seconds. Yeah, Sadie, you have a hand up.
Yeah, just as a means of discussion on the motion, which I intend to support, can we get some updates from ODOT about how it's going as it's going so that we can maybe as a policy committee make recommendations about possible kind of course adjustments or messaging adjustments or anything so that we could just kind of keep tabs and be both kind of responsible as stewards of the project and the money, but also as representatives of our various communities.
Just a question of clarification, is that like specifically about the outreach and sort of the public information aspects to make sure people are aware of construction and
It's
that
more
sort of thing?
generally, kind of like impacts to community and how we are keeping track. So I think that would be both the communication out and kind of the received impact. Like, is it less than we thought? Is it more than we thought? Were there things we didn't think of that we wish we had? Like, is there something we can think of now that could improve things? I would just like to, I know this is necessary, and I know it's a major disruption to our community. So I'm just looking for ways that we as a body can be as effective as we are able in sort of addressing any of the, concerns or issues that are coming up for the community.
So I know I have my outreach when we get anything from ODOT, I send out to my groups. We can all do that as you get emails. So ODOT, the more help they get in getting this out, the better it is for all of us. I see Anna Henson's got her hand up. Anna.
Yeah, thank you. Sadie, I think that's a good question. I would think, and someone that has a lot more experience with SKATS can correct me on this, that what your request would be more slated at the ACT, our Area Commission on Transportation, versus SKATS.
Yeah, that may be so.
And I don't know, Sadie, if you attend those or not. We meet on the even months every other month. And I'm happy to send you the invite if that's something you want to join. But I do give transportation updates at that meeting. And maybe that's something I could do. I'm happy to do it at SKATS too. I think it's up to the COG staff whether or not that's an appropriate,
Yeah, I think you're right, Anna, in terms of like policy setting and implementation of the project. You're probably right that it's a different audience. So I rescind my interest for this group, though I am interested just as a means of keeping people informed and staying informed myself. So I'll look for that opportunity. I don't know that I have the capacity for another meeting.
Understood. And when I get the project website into the chat, you can sign up for notifications when we do our Gov Delivery. If you haven't signed up for Gov Delivery notifications on any projects you want, you can do that. So that's a pretty handy tool.
And Mel Fleury.
Yeah, thank you. I know I'm still relatively new here learning how things fit together and work, but I just want to thank Sadie for your advocacy for our community in this situation, especially for seniors and people with disabilities who I think are the main users of the paratransit. So just thank you for your passion and advocacy for that.
Okay, I don't see any other hands. So we have a motion by Commissioner Cameron, second by Kyle. All those in favor, please say aye.
It was probably just
Aye.
ghosted.
Any nays?
Motion
passes unanimous.
Best way to.
The next up is the SKATS fiscal year 2026-2027 Unified Planning Work Program. Mike Gaffey.
Okay. So for those who are still relatively new to the policy committee, we're required every year to develop a planning work program that describes the planning activities, plans, other activities that we are involved in as a region and with our transportation partners for the upcoming year. So this is the year. This new plan will be for the year starting July 2026 and going to June 2027. What we do usually at this time is give you an outline of what's going to be in the plan and see if you have any input about that. Then we write up the plan, a draft, and provide that written draft to you in January for more feedback. Then that plan is reviewed by ODOT and federal highway staff for their comments. At that time, we also get hopefully better clarification on the funding amounts that we're going to get for the year. And then once we make any changes the federal agencies want us to make, and they get after their comments, we'll come back with the final draft for the policy committee to review, and we'll give you an update about what's changed. And either in March or in April, we'll ask you to adopt that planning work program. So that's kind of the schedule. And you'll see in this handout, we have the schedule right there. So the other things we've kind of given in this first page is some of the major milestones coming up as far as our plans. So you'll see performance measures. Something if you're new to SKATS, the federal transportation statutes require various performance measures that be adopted by the metropolitan planning area. And we will have to update those during the year. As I mentioned, we'll have our 2020, this will be the 2026-27, but then we'll have to do a 27-28 UPWP. During this is probably the most important part. During this period, we'll be updating our long-range metropolitan transportation plan. That's like the 25-year plan. So the 25-year plan will be updated. We do that every 4 years. And then we do another planning work program. So there are some dates there in that table on the first page. The rest of this document outlines the, like I said, the major activities for the next fiscal year, or next, no, it is the fiscal year. So I'm not going to read through this, but you can look through the major items like updating the TIP, kind of do look at that just about every month. There is some amendment that needs to be done, whether it's our discretionary funds or it's ODOT funds or transit funds. That's pretty common and frequent. We have a congestion management process that's a required plan, federally required plan. I mentioned the performance measures have to be updated. In 2024, we adopted the Metropolitan Transportation Safety Action Plan, and we don't want that plan to not be updated, but just sit on the shelf and nothing happens to it. So we want to track progress of projects, safety projects in the region. And as new data comes in on crashes and fatalities and serious injuries, report that back so you see what's the trends, or things getting better or things getting worse, and what is the activities and implementation of safety projects that we're doing in the region. I mentioned the transportation plan has to be updated. On page 2, you'll see a abbreviated schedule for that. So we need to adopt it by May 26, 2027. The next one is the dates for when we'll be doing major work. So between July and December of 2026, we use various chapters to update. And then in the beginning of 2027, we'll do present the draft document, have public comment periods, a public hearing on the draft plan, and then ask for adoption in May. We list some unknowns about this plan because while we have to adopt our plan by 2027, there is local transportation system plans that are being updated at the same time, specifically Salem and Keizer's TSP. So that's happening probably mostly adopted in 2027. So while our plan will be adopted first, and then Salem's plan will be done in 2027, we may want to come back after we adopt our plan and make some adjustments potentially in 2028. So that's why there's some unknowns. We don't know exactly what Salem and Keizer are going to modify in their plans, but they are doing some significant updates for their local TSPs based on state regulations. And then there's the rest of the outline talks about other areas we're working in, interagency collaboration, modeling. We're updating both our 4-step model, and we want to develop an activity-based model, which I'm sure Ray will talk about in some future meetings. Yes, that is. And then I'm going to skip down to the middle of page 4, which is the Metropolitan Transit Planning update. So we provided some of our planning funds to Salem area mass transit for them to do planning, both short-term and long-term planning. So you'll see various things listed on page 4 and 5, everything from local service planning to the micro transit study, to significant project planning like the South Salem Transit Center, continuing their look at accessible paths to transit stops. They want to get started on an East Salem Transit Center study. And then they just do general regional planning coordination with local governments. So that kind of summarizes the summary by itself. It's our job to write up the full plan, which probably will be about 50 pages, 30 pages of appendices. So that's why we like to start with these outlines to give you kind of an overview of what's in these UPWP. So I'll stop now and to see if Ray, if you have anything that I skipped over you want to mention. You did well. I did well. Okay. I don't hear that often, so thank you. Can you put that in the minutes?
Approval. We got it on record.
Make a motion. Sorry.
Any questions?
I do have a question, and it's more of a background knowledge, but we are adopting our plan before Salem-Keizer because of federal obligation. Okay.
Yeah.
I just wanted to make sure I was tracking that. Thank you.
Yeah, we're on a 4-year schedule and we can't vary it. So
Right, because I was like, well, if we have to come back after Salem-Keizer adopts theirs, can we just defer ours and then come back? But
no,
I figured the federal statutes had something to do with it.
Okay, Sadie.
Thank you, Chair. I have a question, and it's based, some of our newer members don't remember the term of service that Councillor Tigan completed or did served here with the SKATS Policy Committee, but he had some interesting thoughts from my perspective about how we allocate the funding and how we might think about differently structuring our funding allocation to incentivize completion of projects and a more competitive bidding process. And he had, I won't go into all of the pieces that he was talking about here, but when I'm looking at this schedule, and this is a question, I guess, for Mike and Ray, would that be a conversation for us to have as a policy committee prior to the July-December 2026 window that includes project evaluation and creation of financially constrained project list? Or does it fit into this at all? Is it a separate piece if we wanted to talk about how we get the funds into the hands of, projects and realize those projects in a timely and competitive fashion in a way that makes the best use of the money that we have available to us?
It's a very complicated question, to be very honest. So just to kind of separate my understanding of your question. Remember, we have a long-range plan. I think that's what you were talking about, the long-range plan. So the long-range plan looks at projects over the next 25 years, and we look at, we have financial constraint for that long-range plan. So we do forecasts of what we expect as revenue. We have costs for those projects, but they're planning level costs. They're going to be wrong, but they're planning level costs, right? And so we balance the revenues and the cost of projects. When it comes to actually funding projects, I think that gets very specific, right? That's in our TIP. That's in our 4-year TIP and how we select projects. And so we went through a whole year of project selection criteria and the process. And we can always revisit that when we, especially when we're updating the TIP. So we're just completing the TIP right now. We're going to adopt this TIP next May. And then we adopt the TIP every 3 years. So in between adopting this next TIP and starting the one after that, we can have more discussions about the process for project selection, prioritization, and funding. Does that help answer your question?
Yeah, and for me, it would be helpful if we could, because I thought that some of the ideas that Paul was sharing with us, and I don't know how many others remember this, really had to do with getting more projects on the ground, right? In the you know, and fewer pushed out projects, less delay, and really creating a greater incentive for our contractors and different construction elements and for the project implementers to move those things along so that we have fewer things that are still on our project list as it carries over to the next one and we're in a place where we can't add any new projects again. So just a thought, it would be helpful for me if we could have that conversation when it fits into this schedule. I just thought I'd bring it up while we're talking about these big schedules.
It's probably an issue we could talk about at the TAC. So your staff members on the TAC are much closer to the actual delivery of projects as far as whether they deliver themselves, you know, whether they design the project and deliver it themselves with eventual contractors or whether they go out with contractors. So we can have that discussion with them to see if there are ways to accelerate the process. But I know they are, and Steve has discussions with project engineers all the time, that there's so many constraints about doing it any faster, probably. You know? An engineer will have, you know, several projects to do it, and they don't have complete control of all the process. So project development is sometimes slow for a variety of reasons, whether it's manpower, whether things just take a long time. If you're buying right away, that can take a very long time because the process has to meet federal requirements. So we're more of a planning organization, so we don't get down to the details of project development. Although it does impact us as far as trying to schedule the funds for each of those phases, right? So.
Any other questions? So we are looking for a motion.
No, this is just
Provide feedback. Yeah, you're right.
Do you have any thoughts about
Why?
what we're scheduling for the work program?
Great. Looks like we're quiet. Let's move on to summary of the MTIP modifications. Steve.
Okay, so there is an attachment in the meeting packet, and I'm not going to, unless there's questions, I'm not going to go into too much depth on these because these were from our last meeting in November, and it was the cancellation of the project for our SKATS, the funding, this particular funding for our SKATS activity based model, and then moving funds from the construction phase to the preliminary engineering phase of the commercial street Vista to Ratcliffe project in Salem. And I know that second one has already been approved, added to the STIP. The first one is still almost there. I think it needs approval from FHWA. But that's kind of all I have on this.
Any questions for Steve? All right. Moving on, informational items. Next policy committee meeting is January 27th, 2026. It sounds weird saying that already. But I'm not sure. I may have a conflict that day. So I will know more here in a couple of weeks. Next TAC meeting is December 9th, today. Following this one at 1:30, we're going to be out of the room before they get here, which would be perfect. That's my whole goal. And the next Oregon Metropolitan Planning Organizational Consortium, or the OMPOC, is February 6th. That's always online. I was told that they're talking about maybe possibly going back to in-person, which I always like in-person meetings a lot better than the Zoom meetings. And then the OTC meeting will be Thursday here in Salem. And that's right down here by the Capitol building. Anybody like to come? It's always interesting. You can go online and you can listen to it and see it there as well. But there's a lot of great information going on statewide projects at that meeting. And for the good of order, does anybody have anything else to add?
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. We got our own Santa Claus in the upper right screen.
Ho, ho, ho.
All right, well, Merry Christmas. It means adjourned. Thanks, everybody. Drive safe
you.
through the holiday.